Greetings and welcome to The Thirsty Mage, the podcast that may have missed on most of its Summer Games Fest predictions, but was smart enough to put those behind a paywall. I'm your host, Jordan Rudek, and today we're recapping our favorite announcements and updates from the week and the week after, the week that was not E3. Joining me is an individual who still hasn't picked their jaw up off the floor after a certain sequel received a gorgeous new trailer. It's David Lloyd.
Yes, looking forward to talking about that game probably later on in this episode, but it's funny that you mentioned our Summer Games Fest predictions podcast because I went back and I was actually shocked at how accurate I was. Like I'm almost sad it is behind a paywall now because I was just nailing. I was looking at the script and I couldn't believe some of the things I got right. Like
I should have been speaking for myself. I think I probably missed out on everything, and you absolutely nailed it. So yeah, but bonus for patrons to be able to hear your very accurate, prescient, even predictions.
I think the only thing I missed was the Voice of Cards. I was convinced there'd be a Voice of Cards game, but there was not.
They're just going to shadow drop that in September, October. Don't worry, it's coming.
Yeah.
This thing, like that, the Voice of Cards is also something that could very easily come out of like Tokyo Game Show. Like it's easy to forget, like with all these announcements coming in June, like there are a lot of like RPG and Japan developed games that come out around Tokyo Game Show. I think it's September-ish. So, or even August. So yeah, there are other shows where we're going to see more of these games. So I bet some of those predictions we made will potentially come to fruition later in the year. But yeah, for June, I think we were still pretty spoiled here. I think it feels like a something for everyone type of June, not E3 season for us. You know, there's lots of RPGs, lots of platformers, shooters, online games. You know, you got a little bit of everything here. So I think it was a pretty good one.
Yeah, and we're recording hours after the Nintendo Direct. So I think we've gotten everything, all the announcements now. I think it's going to be just kind of clear sailing until, like you said, probably the Tokyo Game Show or the later September, info dumps. I think
exactly. Yeah, so we were going to go through 5 memorable announcements or updates to games, things we might have known about that maybe got an update or maybe a specific release date. There's no particular order to these, although I've put some of the Nintendo Direct ones near the end because we'd made these notes a little bit earlier than today's Direct presentation. But yeah, no order to these. These are just things that stood out in our mind, things we're looking forward to. We'll chat about these, and then so we've each got 4 or 5. We'll get through those, and then just maybe a recap or some honorable mentions we can do at the end if we have time. But yeah, so first one for me, this was at the Xbox showcase, I believe, the Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. So this is a sequel to Yakuza Like a Dragon, which was basically Yakuza 7, but they've dropped the numbering convention now that they've kind of split it off into the turn-based RPGs and the brawler action RPGs. Infinite Wealth is the second game starring Ichiban as the protagonist. It's a very brief trailer. It doesn't really show us any gameplay or anything like that. It begins with Ichiban waking up on a beach. He's completely naked. It looks to be not Japan, so I don't know where he is. Maybe he's in the States or in Europe or something like that.
Hawaii, I'm thinking.
Yeah, the Hawaii makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so he wakes up in a beach. There's a lot of white people around, and he's kind of fish out of water. Seems like that's kind of what they might be going for there. Yeah, don't get much other than that. I know there was a little update trailer as well at Studio RGG's presentation on the later that week after we saw this trailer, where I think Ichiban was talking to Kiryu, Kiryu being the star of the other earlier Yakuza games. But yeah, I'm really excited for this game. I was happy to see it show up, and we get a release window of early 2024. Like a Dragon was definitely one of my favorite games in the last few years. And I love what they did, changing the series or creating a spin-off that is turn-based. We love our turn-based RPGs here on the Thirsty Mage. And taking the Yakuza franchise, which I already like and have a fondness for, and then putting the turn-based spin on it just seemed like a match made in heaven. I love the idea of there being a new setting here. As much as I love going to the familiar areas, Kamurocho, and I think Yokohama or someplace like that for Like a Dragon. They're great environments. Love what they do with that space. I mentioned that when we recorded our Like a Dragon and Judgment podcast episodes. But this one, if they're going overseas, if they're going international with this, I think that's a really cool idea. Even if that's not the majority of the game, I do like this idea of Ichiban being in a different setting. So definitely one I'm going to be picking up. David, is this? Do you remember seeing this trailer? What were your thoughts here?
Yeah, they were definitely going for the humor with everyone looking at him and him not quite knowing that he was naked right away.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but didn't really give us much. I'm not convinced it's not going to just be in the normal Japanese neighborhoods. Like,
Could very well be.
and just because with the turnaround time, like it was only a couple of years ago that it was like 2020 or 2021 that the last Yakuza 7 came out. So I just don't think I think it'll be in the same setting like it usually is, just because it saves some development time and costs. So I mean, there might be a section where it's outside. Like I'm playing Lost Judgment, and it's still set within. Like there's a second neighborhood that they've introduced outside of Kamurocho, but it's almost indistinguishable from it because
Yeah, sure,
it's just like it's just another Japanese neighborhood. So I don't know. It'd be neat if it does do that, but I'm wondering if it was mostly just like this is just a tease that it's coming, and it's not necessarily reminiscent of what we're gonna be experiencing.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Obviously, like you sometimes do something like this just to give people the idea that this is different. It's unique. They're going somewhere else. What leads me to believe they might have a new setting, at least for part of the game, is the Infinite Wealth subtitle. Infinite Wealth, makes me think of like Land of Opportunity or American Dream, something like that. And if the game is about kind of chasing money and trying to acquire all this wealth. Maybe the way that you do that is you seek out a new place. You move out of Japan. You seek out you strike it rich somewhere else. So the subtitle does give me some hope that maybe they're moving to a new area. We'll see. Obviously, we're probably going to get more about this game from Tokyo Game Show as well. I imagine there'll be a trailer or two, some updates before the end of the year. Get people ready for that early 2024 release date. And obviously, they'll probably want to solidify the release date by the end of 2023, I think, too. So, yeah, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, that's the first memorable announcement for me. David, what's your first game you want to chat about?
Well, my first game was spoiled by the
yes.
by the company themselves. The poor media relations, whoever's in charge. I don't know if it was coincidence or if it was just someone playing a prank or whatever, but there was media influencer jobs up on Atlas's website that were available, which would imply that whoever screwed the pooch on this one might have lost their job. I hope not, because that would be disappointing.
Yeah.
But it's Persona 3 Reload. It was announced at the Xbox One because they've paid some dollars to get it into their Game Pass for when it comes out in early 2024, along with Persona Tactica, I believe, is in the Game Pass as well.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited about that. It's funny, I got probably 80% through the way of Persona 3 Portable, and then something new and shiny took over. I think it was Triangle Strategy. Octopath Traveler 2, I think.
Yes.
I think I was trying to finish it up, but Octopath Traveler 2 came out, and then I just went right off the rails. So I think I'm going to just wait for this game to come out to and then just play through this one, because it looks really neat. It looks like a full blown remake.
Sure.
I know people are upset. There's a few of the different things that are not in Portable or in Fez, I guess, like the female main character, and I think there's some story content that's not there. I'm not sure, but
yeah, I think they brought over some of the Fez content, but not all of it. I think it is missing that epilogue, which I think is called The Answer, and then the female main character people are disappointed about. Other than that, it does look like full blown remake. And it's funny, like I kind of had this feeling, like after reviewing the third game, playing that on Switch, I was thinking, okay, if whatever one I play is probably going to get the remake. So playing Persona 3, and I think we had rumors about this remake before this event as well, before the announcement, before the announcement was spoiled on social media. I think there were rumors, there was buzz about there being a remake as
screenshots.
well.
I remember seeing a screenshot
Yes,
Um,
yes, I remember that's right.
yeah, and the what was I gonna say? The with it being on Game Pass, like that's probably where I'll end up playing it, just because if they want to, or if they try to sell this as a full price game, I don't know if I'd be inclined to drop full price. So I'm kind of glad it's on the Game Pass, so I can just give them my $16, and I'm sure I'll get through it in a month. And I can even play on my Steam Deck
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of
via
nice.
Game Pass. So
Do you
it's
get cross progression with that? Like if you're moving from Xbox
oh
to
yeah.
oh,
Oh no, sorry. Yes, I do actually, because I'm playing. I'm doing like the cloud streaming through
mm,
the Steam Deck, so
nice,
it's all within the Xbox ecosystem. So
perfect.
yeah, so I'll be able to hop back and forth when I need to.
And
And
it's good that you can play on Steam Deck because this game is not coming to Switch, and I think that I
yeah,
think that's it's surprising to me. I thought this was going to be one of those ones that we would see at the Direct today as just being a late announcement. Um, that said, I'd be surprised if whatever the Switch successor is, or maybe it just gets a late port to Switch next year, or something like that, or comes to Switch 2, one of those kind of things. I'd be surprised just because now that you've seen Persona 3 and 4 come onto Switch, Persona 5 Royal, Persona 5 Tactica, all those games are coming to Switch. There's a huge fan base of Persona games on Switch, and a huge install base, obviously. So I think this game will come to Switch eventually, is my prediction. But yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see how it does. I'm not sure that I will play this game right away. I might wait and see. But yeah, Persona 3 Reload, I think, is a fantastic name. Actually, I think Reload is
yeah.
excellent given the use of guns as a mechanic in the game.
Oh, I just remembered what I was gonna. It was they confirmed that they removed the fatigue system. No more fatigue
Yes.
system.
Okay. Okay, that's
So that'll
good.
be
Just
lonely.
so you can spend all day in the dungeon, or all day and all
Yeah.
night in the dungeon if you want to.
Well, it reminds me of the with Persona 5, like you had limited ammo in
Mm.
the vanilla, but then in P5R it was unlimited. So, and it made like such huge difference in getting through like as far as you can in one night, sort of thing. So
Hmm.
it's I'm glad that they made that decision too.
Yeah,
So
that
on that
sounds
one,
like a helpful little change. That doesn't
yeah,
really alter the gameplay that much. And if you want to leave the dungeon, you can. You don't have to stay there all
yeah,
night and keep
more time
grinding.
to socialize.
That's right. Exactly.
Yep.
So the next one we both had on our list, so we've just kind of combined our memorable moments here, and that's the Starfield Direct. So at the conclusion of the Xbox presentation, we rolled right. There was no like one last announcement. They rolled right into the Starfield Direct, and this was basically 42 minutes of gameplay and developer discussion, mostly gameplay. We got a release date and earlier than I expected, September 8th of this year. So really only a few months away, 3 months away, which is kind of crazy to think. Um, David, why don't you start here? The Starfield Direct. What were some of your impressions about the game? I know we were both kind of eager to see more of this game, and we certainly got our fill, I think.
Yeah. So my initial impression of that particular direct was it was boring as hell,
Oh yeah.
and I stopped watching 5 minutes in. But what I ended up doing was I went and watched it's like somebody basically took 45 minutes and compacted it into 15,
Nice.
and it was so much better.
Yeah.
Like I know that like it's funny because like the developers, I know they probably worked really hard on the game, and I'm sure Todd Howard likes to get his mug up on the screen and everything,
Of
but
course. Hey, when you
I
own the
just
company.
did not care. Like what it's like, just show me the game. Like I don't want to hear the chitty chat about we did this, we did that. Just show me the game. So I just I'm a pretty patient person, but 45 minutes is just too much. So I was happy to watch the condensed version, and yeah, the things that stood out to me was like it was neat that you could build your own ships.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I
cool.
saw like a Megazord style ship built that was pretty funny. Um, there's it seems like there's going to be a lot of details with it. It really seems like it's going to be kind of like No Man's Sky, but
Mm.
less like it. Obviously, there isn't like the Minecrafty style of like mining for materials and that sort of thing. And it's
Although there is a little bit of that because you saw them bring
yeah,
out that laser to harvest some material, so a little bit of it, but not maybe as an
not
extensive
to the
part of the
extent I don't
gameplay.
think. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it really seems like the story is the main focus of, and which makes sense for a Bethesda game, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
very story character driven, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out and how much there. But I'm glad it has all the, like, there's, it's got combat that's at first at glance seems to be looks pretty good. We'll see
Yeah,
what
I
it
mean,
feels
Bethesda
like, but
Bethesda combat has never been like the ultimate part of those games, but it seems serviceable again. I liked the part where the guy picked the jetpack perk and he was like flying over and then shooting the guys when he came down into the base. That seemed cool.
yeah.
Um, yeah, this does feel like Fallout in space. It does feel like Fallout meets No Man's Sky, that kind of thing. Just a better focus on characters and story and kind of crafting your own story. The progression seems really interesting, like choosing the perks and kind of what kind of abilities you want to have. There was one scene where they pick a perk or a trait about you having parents in the colony, and you go visit your parents and they're like happy to see you. And I love like that kind of thing where it does very much feel like your experience is going to be different from everybody else's. And I love seeing that in Western role playing games like Fallout, like Skyrim, where the way you go through it is so different from someone else's experience.
Yeah.
I didn't see the abridged version that you did. I just kind of like watched this in the background a couple times. So I had the Starfield Direct on twice, and it was on my TV in the background while I was doing something else. And so I was just kind of picking up, just trying to absorb some of the things people were saying. The developers, obviously very enthusiastic about the game, but just hearing some of their choices they were making, and how they would design their character, and what kind of traits they would choose, and how that would suit their gameplay style. I love hearing all of that. I don't want it to be stealth for me. I'm going to choose some things that, like a jetpack, like maybe extra firepower so I can go in guns blazing. When I played Fallout or Skyrim, I like, playing at a distance with magic. In Fallout 4, like I'm not really using that. So I'm kind of just going in guns blazing and not stealthing around or sneaking around or anything like that. So it sounds like you can do that. The over 1,000 planets or something like that. Very, very reminiscent of No Man's Sky. But it sounded like not all of those will have something interesting on them. Some of them will just be ones you maybe mine for a resource or something. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I did like the that there's clearly smuggling involved, because there was the one clip where it showed it was scanning your ship for contraband.
Yeah, right.
So that would imply that you could have contraband. So that means we can be up to no good.
Oh
I
yeah, you
also
could be a space pirate, right? You said
that's my plan, because I heard you can steal people's ships. So that'll be
Yeah,
the first thing I'm doing is
no doubt.
hijacking some ships. I heard that your fleet can consist of 9 ships.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yep. So
Yeah, it seems
none
like
of those ships will be legally purchased. I can tell you that much.
that's right. It sounds like the space part of it is just as much a part as what you're doing on the planets. Like whether you're flying around, hijacking ships, visiting like space stations and seeing the people on there. Like it just seems like a massive, massive game. Like way outscaling something like Skyrim and all its updates and Fallout 4 and its updates. It's like a combination of
Mm.
all these games put together. That's like how big it seems.
I was gonna say it's almost like a combination of like Mass Effect and No Man's Sky, in the sense
Hmm.
of like, Mass Effect had planets where it's like, they have the big residential areas where you could go, and like the Citadel and stuff. You
Yeah,
go
right.
and there's lots to do there, lots to talk to. But then you're like, it's not Mass Effect's not really like a, or let's go explore just random planets and
Mhm.
find story things. Like there was
There was a
obviously, but
little
it
bit of that, a
wasn't.
little bit more maybe in the first game than the second
Yeah,
one.
exactly. And you're not like just flying randomly in
No,
space looking for stuff. So it'll be it looks like it's going to be fun. So
it
look
seems to be
again,
taking
another
it seems to be
Game
taking like
Pass.
the best elements of some of these games and putting them into one. Like they obviously
Yeah.
this game has been in development forever, and
Well, yeah. I was going to say the big question is whether it's in workable. It's playable
Mhm.
at launch, because the Bethesda games are notorious for coming in half broke.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that as much as having had some time to ruminate on it a little bit, I think the decision to cap it at 30 frames per second is probably smart because you could spend so much time trying to achieve 60 and a locked 60, and then other things are going to suffer for that, right? Or you're going to have to delay the
Yeah.
game again or something. So maybe it was a smart decision given how much is going on under the hood in this game, how much there is to see and do. Locking it at 30 probably makes sense. Some people are not going to be, I know already some people are not happy about that part of it. If I have a Series X or a supercomputer, why can't I get 60? But it's probably going to end up being smart for just the other, cavalcade of treasure trove of bugs that Bethesda games have historically launched with. If this one can minimize those, it might be their greatest game ever, right? Which is obviously a major feat.
Well, I read the PC versions won't have the 30 FPS cap. It's only the Xbox version.
Ah, interesting. Okay, good to
Yeah,
know. Yeah, so
and I
people,
think that's because of the S. Like it
right,
has to play
sure,
on the S and the X. So
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we knew that was going to kind of hamstring is maybe overly negative, but it is something that is impacting their decision making, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and and again, I want people who have an S to be able to play this game. The I was going to mention just quickly before we move on from Starfield, the new S that they announced kind of at the end of the show, the black one that looks pretty snazzy. But
Mm-hmm.
also the Starfield controller and headset look cool too. Like the Starfield controller, Xbox controller actually looks like the UI kind of mapped onto the controller. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that, but it just looks pretty neat. Like I like that idea of kind of, you know, the controller is mimicking what the game looks like. I think that's a cool way to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Moving on, David, you've got for your next one, you've got Metaphor Refantasio, I think is how you pronounce it. To think about that one for a quick second,
I
but
really think was this specifically because they wanted to make sure people knew that this was Project Refantasy, so they
right,
had to
yes,
like
yes,
come up with this weird name.
that makes sense.
Which and it's funny, like they showed, I think it was like a 2.5 minute trailer, so we didn't get a whole lot of information.
Hmm.
Uh, but to me, it looks like a Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah, more
Like
than
it looks,
Persona. Yeah.
yeah, it almost looks like the director of Persona is like, well, I want to make an SMT game, but not like a numbered SMT game, I guess.
Hmm.
But then all the characters look like the main characters from Persona games. So
Yeah.
like, you got the blue haired character, you got
Yeah.
the white haired character and they're all like the same colors too, right? Like the
Hmm.
blue, the yellow, and the red. The only difference being the Persona 5 character looks more like I can't think of her name now. It's blanking on me. The Phantom Thief they added in Royal.
Oh,
Blanking on her name.
Kasumi.
Yeah, look, yeah. So it looks like Kasumi with like the red hair,
Yeah.
like an elf character with red hair. But it's
Sure.
yeah, it's clear where the inspiration for the three characters comes from, I guess. But
Even the perspective, like kind of behind the shoulder ish, reminds me a lot of Persona, Shin Megami Tensei 5 as well on Switch. Like
yeah,
it seems to be like this combination of the UI stuff from Persona and maybe some of the combat stuff, but meets like the presentation or the perspective of SMT5.
yeah, it just seems like some kind of mix, and then the story is very like SMT like,
Yeah.
with this like is this real? And
Hmm.
look at all this crazy stuff, and then all like the weird demons and stuff. Like
I
it
don't,
looks
I
like
don't
it'd
get
be
the sense like that there's a part of this game that is in like reality, like the Persona games are. This seems like all like the demon world, like
Yeah.
it's like you're going into like the combat side, the exploration side, but that's the whole game. And I guess thinking that is more SMT5 even too.
Yeah. Well, even SMT5 didn't. It was there was like a real world.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess maybe
It,
you spent less time in it. It felt like compared to like Persona.
oh yeah,
which is
you're
almost
barely in it.
50. Yeah, exactly.
It was like just for story beats here and there, really.
That's right.
And then you didn't even walk around the real world. You just like clicked on a map, like go here. Go
Exactly.
here.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I think I'm interested in this game for sure. I think it has the same music producer, creator as the Persona games as well.
Yeah. It's
Core.
so many. It's like basically they took all the top brass and just moved them over to this game. So it's funny because it makes you wonder. It's like, okay, well, what's Persona 6 might feel completely different from previous Personas, because maybe they're like it's an infusion of youth or something, and
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you think this is going to delay Persona 6? Because it seems like it has a lot of the people who would be working on the game working on this one.
well, that's my guess, but I just know that Hashino said he wasn't making another Persona, so clearly there's another team working on it, but it makes you wonder, like, did did they take all these people that have been around, because they did 3, 4, and 5, so you're thinking like, okay, they've been around for a while, maybe they were done,
Yeah.
and maybe Atlas wanted a fresh perspective on the series, so maybe it doesn't, like maybe they just took a bunch of people and said, here's a brand new team, work on this game.
Yeah.
I guess it just depends. Like Atlas games seem like they take forever just in general. Like look at SMT 5 took what, like 6-7 years or something
But
ridiculous.
look at all the stuff they've got coming out here, right? Like they had the Etrian Odyssey collection, which we talked about in a recent episode. They've got Persona 5 Tactica, Reload. You've got this game we're talking about now, a theoretical Persona 6, maybe getting announced next year or potentially even at Tokyo Game Show. Like they're kind of firing on all cylinders. And it's starting to remind me a little bit of their output on 3DS, right? Remember how many games they were putting out on 3DS? Maybe they've hit that point in the development cycle or the console generation where they're just like, all their stuff is starting to come out now, and so we're going to see 2 or 3 or 4 major Atlas games every year now, which would be awesome. I want to see more Atlas games. It's great.
Won't hurt my feelings if that's the case. That'd be good.
And what could also be helping them is that some of these are remasters and remakes, right? Where you're maybe not having to come up with this completely new idea. You're just taking something and trying to make it, redo it in a different style or something. So yeah, I'm excited about this game. I was going to mention, I wanted to shout out the composer Shoji Meguro. He is working on this game just because the Persona games, the music is so damn good that at the very least, however this game turns out, the music will probably be incredible. So Metaphor ReFantazio 2024. We don't have a solid release date other than the year, so we'll see. This could very well. It makes me think of like a fall type game. Just looking at it, this is probably not a summer game. The maybe horror or dark theming of the game makes me think probably the second half of next year. So we'll see about that.
Yep.
So moving on to a couple of the direct announcements that we had this morning. Super Mario RPG, the first one I want to talk about, blew my socks off. I could not believe we were getting this game. We heard talk about a Super Nintendo remake or remaster coming out or being announced at the Direct, and this turned out to be it. November 17th of this year, so it's right around that Black Friday period. Fantastic. I can't believe how good it looks. It's exactly what I want. It is it's so faithful to the original game. The character designs, especially, they look exactly like I remember them from Super Nintendo, but brought into HD. It feels more like it's straddling that line between remaster and remake, because I don't see a lot that's different other than the visual style. Like even from Mario's jumping, the voices, all the characters that I'm seeing, the world, it all feels so reminiscent of the original game. They've added some kind of percentage meter to the combat system. I don't know what that's going to be, but I'm really eager to find out. I just can't believe in the year of our Lord 2023, we've got a game with Geno, Mallow, Bowser and Princess are on your team. We're going to see Booster, just all these awesome characters from this game. I'm over the moon about this. I can't believe it's real. I can't believe it's coming this soon. Like this feels like.
What do you think worked on the deal? Do you think it was Nintendo or Square?
It's a really good question, and I want to know. I want to know that too. I don't know who the developer is on this. It could very well be another collaboration, and that's probably why it took so long for this game to come out. Like people have been clamoring for this for years, or a direct sequel or something. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I just think that Nintendo and Square obviously a lot of discussions had to happen before this ever came to fruition. So whoever ended up taking point on it. Given the fact that doesn't seem like a full remake, it might not be one of like the major studios working on it. It could just be they could have offshoot it to somebody with direction, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, because it's not quite Link's Awakening, but it's kind of has
in that vein
similar
for sure.
Look to it, like It's funny, a lot of the games in the Direct, they all had that kind of same design to them, like even like
for sure.
Indies. It was kind of funny to see.
And it makes sense, right? Because you're not trying to push graphical boundaries anymore at the end of the Switch lifespan. Like you're just trying to, kind of what they've been doing to success actually for the whole generation, the whole Switch generation, is taking these games and finding an art style that works for them, that looks modern but feels like what you remember, right? The next game we're going to talk about it does the same kind of thing, but. Yeah, I can't believe this is happening. I'm so excited about it. This is a day one game for me for sure. I definitely want to do an episode on this game. compare it to the original one. But I didn't. If they were going to remake, Chrono Trigger, Super Mario RPG games like this, I didn't want like a top to bottom remake. I feel like you're going to lose something. You're going to lose like what made those games special. Like there's just that risk. This game doesn't seem to be taking those major gameplay risks. It just looks and feels so much like the original. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm blown away. I'm so thrilled about this. I'm definitely one of those huge fanboys of this game. It's a seminal game for me, and the fact that I'm going to be replaying it again in November is just awesome. It's just a total surprise. This hit it out of the park for me. Made the direct for me. So yeah, very very excited about this one.
Yeah, I'm going to play it, but I don't like. I didn't play it back in the day, so I don't have really any nostalgia towards it. So
this is one of those games where the Super Nintendo one, I had the player's guide. I just read it until it fell apart in my hands. It was a great player's guide, great artwork on it.
The pages back together.
100%. Yeah. I wish I still had it. If I ever saw it in a used video game store, I'd pick it up instantly. Just another great player's guide.
Disintegrated spine.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Very, very well loved for sure. And I'm looking at the trailer again now. Like, I mean, it looks like they've done that thing where with a pixel remaster, like they added those spell effects just to make everything kind of pop. So it's got that sense of like taking things you see during combat and gameplay to make them look like they're from 2023, but also just maintaining those kind of character designs from the Super Nintendo days that everyone just kind of fell in love with.
It seems like it was specifically designed for the OLED.
Oh yeah.
Like when you look at like the color, the way the colors are together and bright and vibrant, and kind of like the roundish angles and stuff. It all seems very specifically designed for like to look the best it can on an OLED Switch.
That makes a ton of sense, and they're selling so many OLEDs now compared to the original or even the Lite that kind of makes a lot of sense. They're probably again maybe next year we're going to be getting another Switch. The OLED's probably the one that they're going to be selling up until that point, and maybe even after. I can still see people willing to get an OLED if they drop the price, but. Yeah. Super Mario RPG remake, remaster, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. Let's go. I'm super stoked. I'll go next as well because you did two in a row before that. So another game from the Nintendo Direct today, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. The subtitle is funny to me. I'm just happy it doesn't have the word new or deluxe or plus or some other trash like that in it. We're kind of sick of the new monikers for the game, so to move away from that is fantastic. This was another. I expected a 2D Mario. I didn't know what we were going to get. I kind of didn't have anything in my mind about how it was going to look. This is truthfully what I'm really happy we ended up with. It feels very much like kind of claymation meets like Yoshi's Island. It's got this very kind of artsy, kind of charming, colorful world to it, but very much kind of still looks and feels like Mario. It's just unique. Like I love all the kind of like the sound effects and just seeing all the characters kind of smiling. There's this happy little flower that keeps talking to you for some reason. Reminds me a little bit of Super Mario World in the boxes and things like that for giving hints. But so you're watching the first half of this trailer, it just looks like Mario, and then about halfway through. Mario picks up this blue flower and everything just goes topsy-turvy, like he's in some drug-induced state. Like things are just like shooting water and changing shapes and curving, and then there's new things. There's these new purple look like hearts or clovers to pick up. It just seems like Mario on acid, and I'm kind of here for it. Like it's this crazy combination of things, but ultimately still looks and probably feels like Mario. So I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be picking it up just because I haven't played a 2D Mario in a while.
Yeah.
And I mean, it looks neat and stuff, but I guess my preferred, like of the last decade of Mario's, the one I've loved the most is 3D World. If there's like another 3D World that comes around, I'll pick that up. But
yeah.
It's hard to top that one for me.
It seems like they're obviously saving the next 3D game for the new Switch, right? Like that seems kind of painfully obvious that now that it's
the launch title. It's not going to be Zelda, obviously. So
no, exactly. There's no more Zelda, so it'll be the launch game will be a Mario Kart and probably a new 3D Mario. But I think in terms of like kind of capitalizing on the success of the movie, you had to have a 2D Mario kind of ready to pair with it. They've maintained the local co-op. They've maintained, like, the music sounds great too. There are kind of new variations on the Mario themes, and new characters are popping up. There's this elephant power up at the end of the trailer, which it just seems bizarre to me, but also kind of in keeping with the animal themes they've been doing
Yeah.
lately. Like the squirrel and stuff like that. So
This is
I'm a
November,
fan
right?
of
Or
Cat
October?
Mario. It's October 20th.
October, yeah,
So
that's what.
it's not even
Yeah,
that far away. So I'm really excited to see how this turns out. It seems like it's got a little bit more humor to it as opposed to seriousness, and I guess that's maybe an interesting direction as well. Like
yeah,
it's not Bowser looming over everybody. Oh, big bad guy, let's go stop him. It seems like more just a kind of exploring this fantasy world, this new place. So I'm definitely here for this one as well. I was expecting a new Mario. Didn't know what it was going to look like, but I am pleasantly surprised by the art style here. As a big fan of things like Yoshi's Island on Super Nintendo, the Super Nintendo renaissance that's happening. I mean, we got Star
yeah,
Ocean 2, Star Ocean, another game that kind of started life on Super Famicom. Um, Going back to the Super Nintendo well and bringing those games and those, I guess, sensibilities forward, I will never tire of that. Like, if there's more of that down the pipe, please just keep it coming. This is all good for me. So
hmm
yeah, Super Mario Wonder, October 20th of this year. So pretty good month for Super Mario fans. Back to back within 30 days of each other. Wonder and then RPG. Pretty good 1-2 holiday punch, I think, for Nintendo. I think they were trying to move 15 million consoles during the fiscal year this year, which is pretty, obviously very sizable given, we're in the Switch's, sixth or seventh year here.
yeah.
And with these two games, I think they'll probably get there, honestly. So yeah, very happy about these. But I think our last one, another combo for us, where we both obviously had to talk about this game, and I alluded to it in the intro, but that's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Got a launch window of early 2024 for this one as well. David, take it away. What do you think of Rebirth?
This was by far and away the biggest one for me. I figured they were going to show a trailer, but I didn't think they were going to show as much gameplay or as much. Like, I thought it would kind of be more of like a cinematic, like 5 minutes of just kind of overview sort of thing. But I feel like we got a whole lot more details than I was ever expecting. Like,
Yeah.
you see them walking in the like the open world. It just blew my mind. I'm like, holy crap! It's like, it's just full on, walking through, and just absolutely gorgeous. Even Aerith pointing out, like, look how gorgeous it is.
Yeah, funny.
That was funny. The Red 13's a playable character this time, which is neat. Yuffie's going to be is like a playable character in the game.
Yep.
Wasn't expecting that, really. Like, I know we had intermission, but I almost thought it was just kind of separate. So it's neat that she's now like part of the story now, or going to be somehow. The story just seems like bonkers.
Yeah, who knows what it's going to be.
Like, no idea what's going on. Like, the death scenes of them at the beginning, and then notably Cloud wasn't among them, so it's like, okay, there's obviously must be some kind of multiversal thing going on.
Yeah.
Because it's like, they wouldn't. I was thinking, like, is it like some kind of Shinra propaganda? And it's like, well, who would know who they are anyway? Like, why would, like, to show them dead doesn't mean anything to anybody, so that doesn't seem likely. And then we didn't see Zack, which I'm sure is going to have some kind of implications in this. Like, I'm almost wondering if there's like going to be like a parallel world thing where like Zack was the one that lived and Cloud died in this one, and then like you're seeing how things would have played out or something based on that or something. But and then they're like twisting things around with insinuating that Tifa had died and there was somebody new, which I still think is a red herring. I know, and they're saying people are trying to convince, like, in the Japanese one of the trailer, he clearly says Tifa, and it's like, that may be the case, but I still don't believe it. Yeah. Like, but I'm fairly certain there's going to be, and I think we talked about it, and it's nothing it's an obvious thing where I think it's like there'll be a moment in the game where you think it's going to go one way, it goes another, and the entire story is just completely different. And I think it'll be early in the game too. Like, I think most of this game is probably going to be new content or a new direction for the story that completely goes off the rails from the original. I think they kind of alluded to to that in the first game where, you know, you had I can't remember what they're called, the ghosts that were like trying to keep the story the same for the entirety of the game, and things kept changing. I think now that they're died, I think we're just going to see a completely new interpretation of the game, which I'm here for. It looks fantastic. Like the combination moves and stuff
I
looks
was just watching
unreal.
the trailer again. Yeah, seeing these combination attacks where the two
Yeah,
characters kind of pairing up to do like what looks like a limit break. Like that's obviously a new mechanic, and it just looks awesome. Like I can't wait to try all those out. Red 13 looks so fun in combat. They're so
yeah,
fast and just kind of warping around, slashing around. So that's going to be cool. These new bosses that I don't really recognize, like this Crystal Golem and stuff like that. Like, yeah, this game could be completely different from what we expect from the post Midgar section of the game. But yeah, I think there's no getting around the fact that the most striking element of the game is how it looks. It is so incredibly gorgeous,
yeah.
and it seems like the first game or the first part remake already looked so good. Like they've clearly even enhanced this one further. Like Rebirth, another great kind of subtitle, right?
Yeah.
Word subtitle. Um,
This is
I
PS5 exclusive too, right?
That's what I was gonna say. Like, is it
There's
because
no
they're
way
not
this is running on PS4.
is it because they're not held back by having to develop for PS4? Is that
Yeah,
the reason why this game looks so good? And
I think so.
that if that's the case, like totally worth it. Like there's enough
Yes.
people that have PS5s now, I think, and
Yeah.
PS5s are pretty readily available if you want to get one. Obviously, still expensive, but they're out there in the wild now.
Well,
Um,
I heard like Final Fantasy 16 has really driven a big sales. Like, there's a huge amount of sales of PS5s now, just because now that Final Fantasy 16 is releasing tomorrow as of this recording.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I think
I
Rebirth
mean,
will be the same.
that's one of the big kind of third party exclusives coming to PlayStation that was going to move units, right? Reminiscent of like when Final Fantasy VII, the original game, came to PlayStation, and that was a system seller for them, obviously, right? It's the
Yeah.
same kind of thing here. You're getting the first exclusive Final Fantasy to come to your to come to your platform, exclusive to just PS5. I mean, that was obviously going to be a system seller for them. So yeah, now that PS5s are on the shelf, like this game is going to move consoles as well. Gosh, it just looks so good. I'm watching the Chocobo scene here. Um, they're doing
No
it.
Cat Sith?
No, not yet. Just
Not
wait.
yet.
No, I mean
Sid?
that's the thing. Like they have to save characters for the third game too, right? The third
Oh,
part.
yeah.
And the fact that we didn't bring this up, but 2 discs, like come on, you don't need to say anything else. Like I think they were tweeting that on social media, just 2 discs. That's all
Oh,
you
I
have to
think
say.
it's funny that people are making fun of it, and it's like, why is it funny? That's amazing
It's
that there's so
awesome.
much
It's
content that it can't fit on one disc.
It's
Like,
so good. Like I mean, we may have complained about that back in the day, like I have to put in 4 discs, but now it's like we're so used to 1 disc again that to get two, it's like we
yeah.
know there's like there's more content, there's more graphical fidelity. There's something that is requiring this second disc, maybe an installation disc. I don't know if it's going to be one
Well,
yet.
I was gonna say
It's
it's
true,
not
right? But
gonna be like oh well, insert disc two. It's like,
no,
no, it's they're just installation disc. I
yeah,
almost think Cyberpunk was the same way.
I think
I'm almost certain
you
there was
might be
two
right about
discs.
that. Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
I guess because there wasn't an original Cyberpunk that had 3 or 4 discs to it, so there's
Yes.
that
Yeah. So
call that
no
callback to
one
the
cared.
original game, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Funny that Cyberpunk had 2 discs and still ran like crap, but
Yeah.
maybe they figured out the whole 2 disc thing by now. But yeah, I mean, yeah. What can you say? Rebirth was just an awesome way to end Summer Games Fest. Highlight of that show for me as well. This was the final trailer in Jeff Keighley's presentation. And it was funny that this wasn't attached to Sony's showcase. Obviously, there must have been some big deal with Keighley to get this game as kind of the anchor for Summer Games Fest. That 2 hour show or whatever it was, however long. But yeah,
Maybe he
awesome
traded
trailer.
Game of the Year for Final Fantasy 16.
That's right. Yeah, that's how.
It's in the bag now.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's going to be up for nomination for every category of games,
Yeah.
game awards at the end of this year. So just wait and stay tuned for that. But yeah, pretty good. I think just kind of the sum of all these announcements and shows, like pretty darn solid. I think pretty good replacement for E3. I think I feel like again everybody kind of got something that they were interested in. I'm sure. Lots of RPGs, lots of interesting games, new games, updates on things we knew about. Um, but yeah, how you feeling about the rest of this year and early 2024, David?
There's certainly going to be no shortage of games to play. So I won't have to think too hard about what to play. I'll probably be playing. Man, it'll just be constant. Like we get Final Fantasy 16 now, which will be at least a month, I'm sure. And then I got Trails into Reverie coming in July, so there's my July game. Then we got Starfield in September. We got Super Mario RPG in November. Like it's just, and that's on top of all the games. Like we were just talking before the show that PlayStation Plus has this wild celebration going on where like half of the Square Enix catalog seems to be in the PlayStation Plus Essentials package now, where you can play like all their games, all these old games for free, like all the Tokyo RPG games.
Yeah.
All the Kingdom Hearts are in there. All the like Dragon Quest Monsters, Dragon Quest Builders, all the what do you call them? Life is Strange. Like it's incredible how much is in there. So yeah, there's more games than I have hours in my life left. So
who needs announcements when you've got all these collections of old games coming to our subscription services? Like it's just killer. But yeah, and I think, gosh, we're still working working on games like Tears of the Kingdom, Diablo 4, X number of RPGs. But yeah, our plan next week, just to keep everybody in the loop, hopefully a Diablo 4 episode. I know we've kind of promised that. I've been waiting to, I've been waiting to get through the story. I was kind of doing a lot of the side content and just leveling up my character and exploring as much as I could. But now, getting ready to finish the game. So hopefully Casey and I will be recording a D4 episode next week. That's our plan. So stay tuned for that. I imagine we'll have some Final Fantasy 16 impressions coming up soon. Is Paige getting the game as well, David? Did she say that?
Well, she's got the $500 statue.
Oh my gosh! Why did I not just assume that right off the bat? That if there's an expensive statue that looks gorgeous, Paige is going to pre-order it.
Yeah, but it was funny because she pre-ordered it before she played the demo. Oh, you haven't played the demo, have you?
No, I haven't played the demo.
Oh, yet. I can't spoil because there's something related to the statue in the demo, and so I'm not going to say.
I still need to do that. The reviews came out today for the game. They look very, very stellar.
The highest rated Final Fantasy I think ever.
Yeah, that's something. Given you've had 16 of them, right? So that's pretty good. Yeah. But we'll wrap up here. Thanks everybody for listening to our impressions of the not E3 weeks here, the Nintendo Direct, PlayStation Showcase, Summer Games Fest, Xbox, all those different presentations, and some of our favorite announcements and moments from them. If you haven't already, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/thethirstymage. You can reach out to David directly with emails, questions for him, topics you want to hear on the show, by email, david@thethirstymage.com. We also have a Spotify. We are on Spotify. If you are on Spotify already, you can find our podcast, leave it a rating there, add it to your favorite list. However Spotify works with podcasts, I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, we're on there, or any other podcast device. We'd love your feedback there. Always helps people find the podcast. So thank you for that. I hope everybody has a great rest of your day, rest of your evening, and we will talk to you again next week. Bye.